everyone, this is Anne-Marie from DIYJewelry. Thank you so much for joining me for another beading tutorial, and welcome back to those of you who have already subscribed to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I have an Etsy shop where I sell handmade surf and beach inspired jewelry, and the name of my shop is Alma Surfside. And I also have an Instagram account which is Alma Surfside 7. So be sure to check out both of those links in the description box down below. And for today's beading tutorial, we're going to be going over a necklace project. Okay, so this project combines size 11 beads with size 15s, as well as size 11 delicas. Okay, so it's a very sunny and bright pattern. I've decided to use, a nice tone of yellow. And I think that this pattern is interesting because it has a square in the center of the shape, and then the delicas frame the outside of that square in a very unique way. So anyways, let's go over the materials for this project. So what you're going to need first off is fire line, and I always use 6 pound or 0.006, and the color is crystal. And in the first pile there on my mat are Miyuki delicas, and again there's 11 O's. And the color of this one here is opaque yellow AB. Okay, and this is from the Bead Treasures collection. I believe I got this one at Hobby Lobby. In the second pile there on my mat are Toho seed beads, and these are opaque white, again 11O. And in the third pile there on the far right hand side of my mat are Toho seed beads, and these are 15 O's in galvanized silver. Okay, so that's what they look like. And it's also helpful to have a lobster claw so that you can finish off your project, with the closure. And of course you'll need 2 jump rings. Okay. And the reason why I've chosen silver in this case is because I'm using galvanized silver beads in the project itself, so that helps tie it together. And in terms of tools, it's useful to have flat nose pliers so that you can work with your jump rings at the very end of your project. And of course you'll need scissors to cut your fire line as you're working. Okay. And lastly, you'll need a beading needle. And I don't often mention this, I always assume that everybody knows, but for those of you who are beginners, yes, you do need a beading needle. And this one is by Beadsmith, and I believe it's size 12. Okay, so go ahead and gather all of your materials and let's get started. Okay, so to get your project started, you're going to cut an arm's length worth of thread. Okay, just whatever you're comfortable working with. And then you're going to tie on extra thread as you run out. Okay, and with necklace projects, I always recommend leaving about a 6 to 10 inch tail just so that you can finish off your piece at the very end. Okay, so we're going to start off by creating the square shape. So to do that, I'm going to pick up 4 of my 11O seed beads. Okay, push those down on your thread. Again, leaving yourself a generous tail. Okay, and you're going to insert your needle into the very first seed bead. There we go. Okay, so that's the basic shape that you want to start off with. And then we're going to fill in the gaps around the square shape by picking up 1 15O and going down the very next bead. Okay, so that filled in the gap there at the top. We're going to do the same thing all around this square shape. So go ahead and pick up another 15O and go down the next bead. Okay, 2 more gaps, so we're going to pick up another 15 and go down the next bead. Okay, so that's the square shape that's coming together. We have 1 more empty gap, so we're going to pick up another 15O. And we're going to go into the last 11O bead there. Okay, so that's what it looks like at this point. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a delica in 11/0, another 15/0, and another delica. Okay, so you should have 3 beads there on your needle. And we're going to go through the opposite side of the white seed bead in 11/0 that we're exiting. Okay, so that creates, you know, like a little shape there at the bottom of your square, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So go ahead and go through the next 15, 11, 15 up the right hand side of your shape. Okay, go through the next 11/0. And we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Okay, so go ahead and pick up 1 delica, 1 15/0, and another delica. So 3 beads there on your needle, and go through the opposite side of the bead that you're exiting, right there. Okay, so that's the basic shape that we're going to be working with. And now what we have to do is go through the 15/0 and the 11/0 right there. Okay, and now that we're exiting the 11/0 on the right hand side of the shape, we're going to pick up 2 more delicas. And I'm going to insert my needle into the first delica there on the right hand side. Okay, this one here. Now I'm going to go down the 15 and the next delica. I'm going to pick up 2 more delica beads. So we're going to skip the 15/0 and go down the 11/0 right below and pull on your thread. Pull tight so that all of the delicas are sitting nice and snugly on the outside of your shape. Okay, and now what we're going to do is the exact same thing at the top. So go ahead and pick up 2 more delicas and insert your needle into the first delica there on the right hand side. Pull on your thread. Okay, so now I'm going to carry on through the 15/0 and the next delica. Okay, and now that I'm on this side of my shape, I'm going to pick up 2 more delicas. And again, we're going to skip the 15/0 that's right below, and I'm going to insert my needle into the 11/0. Okay, that's part of the square. And pull on my thread. There we go. Okay, so that's the shape that we're going to be replicating throughout the entire necklace. So you've done the very first segment, and now you're going to carry on until you get to the top of your shape. So go through the next 3 delicas, as well as the 15/0 that's sitting there at the top. Okay, so that's the shape we're working with. Now we're going to create a little connector. So to do that, you're just going to pick up 3 15/0 beads. There we go. And I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead that I'm exiting. Okay, so that creates a little connector shape that I can use to get to my next segment. And to make it a little bit stronger, reinforce it by going through all of the beads that you just added on. Okay, and back up through the 15/0 that's sitting there at the top of the connector. Okay, and now we're going to create another shape. So to do that, I'm going to pick up 1 delica, 1 11/0, and another delica. And I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead that I'm exiting, right there. Okay. So that's the shape that we're going to start with, and I want you to go up through the delica on the right and the 11-0 that's sitting right below. Okay, now we're going to create the square shape, which makes up, the inside of this pattern. So I need a total of 3 beads in 11-0, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead that I'm exiting, right there. So now you should have 4 white beads in 11-0 right below. And we're going to fill in the gaps of this square by picking up a 15-0, going through the next bead, picking up another 15-0, and again going through the next bead, another 15, go through the next 11-0, and now there's one more gap, so we need one more 15-0, and going back through the 11-0. So that's the shape that we have in order to create our pattern. So I want you to go ahead through the next 3 beads, okay, so now we're up here on the left hand side of the square, and we're going to go through the 11-0 that's sitting there in the center, right there, and I'm going to pick up a delica, a size 15, and another delica, like that, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead that I'm exiting. Okay, so now we have the same thing on the top and bottom of our second unit. And what you can do is carry on down through the 15-0 and the 11-0 below on the right hand side. Okay, and now we're going to pick up 2 delicas. And I'm going to go through the very first delica that I see there on the bottom right hand side, right there. Okay, carry on through the 15, and continue through the next delica. Okay, now we're ready to pick up 2 more delicas, and I'm going to skip the 15 and instead go through the 11-0. Okay, so the top of our shape is done, and now we just have to finish the other part, so the bottom part. So I'm exiting the 11 right now, and I'm going to pick up 2 more delicas, and I'm going to insert my needle into the very first delica there at the top. Okay. Go through the 15 as well as the delica, right there. And now there's one more empty gap which we need to fill with more delicas. So I'm going to pick up a couple more. And I'm going to go through the 11-0 by skipping the 15-0. There we go. Okay, so the second unit is complete. And now I just need to go clockwise around the outside of the shape until I come back up to the very top. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. So as I'm working my needle around the shape, I can skip the 15-0 that's sitting there, because sometimes I know it's hard to get your needle through a tiny hole like that several times. So by skipping it, it's not going to compromise the shape at all. In fact, it's just going to enhance the point there. So you can go ahead and skip the 15-0 and just go through the next 2 delicas. And I'm going to go through the 11-0 and then through all of the delicas there on the outside and the 15-0. There we go. Okay, so now I'm back at the top of my second shape, and to create the third shape we need a connector. So you can go ahead and pick up a total of 3 15-0s. There we go, and go through the opposite side of the bead that you're exiting. To make that connector stronger, go ahead and go through all of the beads that you just added on. I know sometimes it's hard with your needle, like if you're, using a larger needle, it's not easy to work with the 15s, but sometimes it's good too to use your flat nose pliers in order to pull the needle through if you need to. Okay, so now I'm ready to create my third shape. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up one of my delicas, an 11-0 in white, and another delica. Okay, 3 beads there on your needle, and you're going to go through the opposite side of the bead that you're exiting. Okay, and now we're going to create the square shape. So go through the first delica, go down the 11-0, like that, and you're going to pick up 3 more of your 11-0 beads and go through the opposite side of the bead that you're exiting. Okay, now we have empty gaps around our square, so we're going to fill them in with size 15s. So I just picked up one, and I'm going to go through the next bead, pick up another one, go through the next bead. Okay, again, so filling in all of the empty areas around the square. Pick up another one and go through the next 11-0 and one more. Okay, and I'm going to go again through the next 11-0. Okay, so now that the square shape is complete, I'm just going to carry on through the 3 beads there on the right hand side of my shape. And then I'm going to go through the 11-0, sitting there in the center. Okay, and I'm going to create the top part to that, so it's just 1 delica, 1 15, and another delica, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead that I'm exiting, so right there. Okay, carry on through the next 2 beads, which is a 15-0 and an 11-0. Okay, and now I'm ready to fill in all of the delicas on the outside of my shape. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 2 and insert my needle into the very first delica on the top right hand side of the shape. Okay, if I want to, I can skip the 15 and just go down the next delica. Okay, the 15 is not going to go anywhere because we've already secured it. And now I'm going to pick up 2 more delicas. Okay, skip the 15 and instead go down the 11. There we go. Okay, and now we just have to fill in the top part of our shape. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 2 more delicas and go into the very first one, right there. Carry on through the 15 and the delica below. Okay, one more empty gap, so we're going to go ahead and pick up 2 more of our delicas. There we go. And I'm going to go through the 11-0 down below, skipping the 15. Okay. There we go. Pull tight to make sure that all of the delicas are sitting, nice and snug. And basically we finished the first 3 parts of our necklace. So, if you're continuing this, you're going to go around the shape until you hit this point here, the 15-0, and then you're going to continue with another connector. Okay, and just carry on in the same way all the way down the bracelet, necklace, earrings, whatever it is that you're making today. Okay, and now what I want to do is go over the closure. Okay, so once you've reached the right length of your piece, what you're going to do is create a loop closure. And I've already completed the closure on this side, so I've used a total of 5 seed beads in 15-0, and these are the silver ones. It's up to you whether you want to use the 11-0s or 15-0s. And we're going to do the exact same thing on this side of the piece. So make sure that you're exiting the center bead, the 15-0, at the top of your shape. And then what you're going to do is pick up a total of 5 15-0s. There we go. So a total of 5, a group of 3 and 2. Push those down on your fire line and go through the opposite side of the bead that you're exiting. Okay, and then you can reinforce that by going through all of the beads that you just added on. And you can go through the one there at the bottom. And if you can't get your needle through, which is sometimes a problem, just use your flat nose pliers to pull it through. Okay, in this case it didn't take too much effort, but I know sometimes with those small holes you have to really work at it. And you can go down the first delica. So now we're in the necklace itself, and I'm going to go ahead and tie off a knot right here. And just to make sure that everything is super secure, I'm going to create another knot by going down the next couple of beads and going on the inside of my shape and creating a knot there. So I just did a second knot right below the 11-0. Okay. And now that you've done a couple of knots, you can go ahead and cut off the extra thread. Set that aside. Okay, go ahead and get your flat nose pliers and open up the jump ring. Insert one of them into one side, into one of the loops. Close it up. Okay. Grab the other jump ring. Open it up and attach your lobster claw and put that one through the second loop and close. Okay. So to fasten your necklace or your bracelet, you're gonna open up the lobster claw and put it through the jump ring. Okay, so that's what secures it. So anyways, that concludes our beading tutorial for today, and I hope that you really enjoyed making this piece along with me. And I really like the simplicity of the design and the way the square is in the center, and then you have the interesting cylindrical shapes framing the square in a very unique way. And I think it's very bright and sunny and cheerful, and I'll definitely be wearing this piece a lot. And it's also a great way to use up your delicas because, you know, they're not just for brick stitch. You can use them in a variety of projects. And if you have, you know, a lot of one particular color, this is a great way to use up your supplies. So anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you haven't already done so, please take a minute to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, take care. Bye for now.